Razor 94.7 104.7.
Well, hello, Eva. It is very great to meet you. I was just reading your article that you wrote up on Loudwire, and with May being Mental Health Awareness Month, you know, we've been talking to bands. I've been talking to coworkers and things like that about our mental struggles, our mental health, and what we've been going through. But you have a unique perspective on this because you're a therapist. People come to
Correct.
you.
Correct.
So
Yeah. I mean, I always like to say therapist in therapy, right? Because of course we go through it too, but when people come to talk to us about their stuff, it's like you also want to be that listening ear. So, but yeah, it's definitely very rewarding, but it's a unique perspective for sure.
what brought you to wanting to do that? What was the idea that you're like, all right, I'm gonna be a psychotherapist?
Meaningful human connection. Like I really just wanted to find a way to not have to talk about the weather every day or have to worry about like the job stress, right? I wanted it to be worth it because no matter what you do, there's bad days with everything, right? But I wanted it to be worth it. And so when I'm talking with people about stuff that matters, it makes it so much more fulfilling to me.
Gotcha. Um, I started going to therapy a couple of years ago, and it was tough to be like, I want to do this. This is going to be good for me. I know, but like so resilient or resistant, where I don't want to go to this room and sit on a couch and this guy, whoever it is taking notes about my innermost thoughts. But then I went and it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
How can we make it less scary to go into therapy?
Let's normalize that idea, right? I think you can show up to therapy and just tell them that. Like, this is very strange for me, like maybe on the first session, honor the fact that this was a really big step, talk about the fact that it's super strange being in the presence of a stranger who knows they need help, right?
Hmm.
But what the pressure to just jump right in is, that's that's fine. You don't have to jump right in. We can start by talking about the weather. That's cool. If you feel like you need to know a little bit more about the person that you're opening up to, that's cool too. I think as long as there is that communication though, so that both parties understand where they're starting from, that's all it takes.
That's that is something like it sounds like when you say it out loud, it sounds so easy,
Yeah.
and like I'm sure you've ran into people that are just like, well, I didn't really need this and now I'm here, and then they realize like, damn, this really helps.
I've had people actually tell me that like other therapists fired them because they wouldn't talk. And I'm like, that therapist isn't creating an environment that's safe enough for you to talk then. It should be like you're sitting down with anybody, a friend, and maybe you tap dance around the issue for a minute. Maybe you stick your big toe in, see what the temperature is like, but like by no means am I ever, and I try to make sure that people understand I don't think your brain is like a nutshell that I have to just crack open and like get to the gritty stuff real like, all those gory details don't even need to come to the surface until you're ready. Um, but I think it is important maybe for me being on the other side of the coin as a therapist, it's nice for me to know where you're at. And as long as you can tell me in some version of how you're comfy or that you're not comfy, then I can ask you, well, what would make you more comfy? Because I don't want this to be anything that's going to be scary or traumatic or feel like it's going at a pace you're not ready for. Just like we start in any kind of friendship or relationship, right? We're like, how is this pace? You know what I'm saying? And like people are like, oh, this is moving way too fast. Therapy can go there real quick.
Oh
So
yeah.
just tell them your pace and it'll be much easier. And I wanted to also say that's cool that you noticed and you're like, yeah, it sounds simple, but it's not. Welcome to therapy.
Right.
Like it sounds so simple. And you're like, yeah, wouldn't that be great if we could just all wave a magic wand and like have it be better?
That would be so nice. I
Right.
would love that if we could invent the magic wand to just be like, you're going to chill now and you're not going to worry about 30 years from now, even though you're currently on a pace for a good thing. You don't know, bad things could happen. Like,
Yeah.
I just wish that was hyper specific to myself. But yeah, like therapy is great. It really is. It has opened up you say it's not like a nutshell that you're trying to crack, but I think like as the patient, well, the person seeking therapy, it does kind of feel like, at least in my brain, when I first had my first breakthrough, it was like my brain opened up and those like the swelling went down. It was a weird feeling, but it was so rewarding.
I love those aha moments, right? Because and it does, it sort of feels, but instead of like just prying it open like you would, a nutcracker, right? It's more
Mhm.
like an onion. You have
Yeah.
lots of layers, right? You have to be very careful with the layers. But that's why the pacing is important, and I think that the client's the person that really needs to determine that pacing because it's your therapy experience, it's your walk with what you're dealing with. And I think as long as the other person that you're sitting across from understands and honors that, um, then just sitting and having an outside opinion can be so helpful and so healing.
And so let's talk about your focus with this. You specialize in anxiety and depression and substance abuse,
Mhm.
things like that. What, like, I know you can't give like advice to everyone, but like what are some general like things to do when it's like you're feeling an anxiety attack building up, or you're going through a really gray time in your life? Like, what type of exercises could we do in our brains to keep us limber, I guess?
I think we live in a real fast paced world, which I think is anxiety provoking in and of itself, right? So I always tell people to, just as a general rule, this has been helpful for me to slow everything way down. I mean, how you speak, how you walk, slow it down, simple things. Take the time that you need if you're just not feeling on that day, right? Because I feel like part of the stress is that our body feels required to like catch up, keep up, stay on it, go, 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 go. Um, and that's just not realistic to be on like that all the time. Um, and the other thing I would say is reflect, see where this is coming from. If you can pinpoint it, great. If not, try not to focus on the fact that this doesn't really have a trigger for you. Like you might just be feeling off that day, and it's okay to leave it there. You don't have to discover it if it's not something, or if maybe it comes to you later. Um, so slow down, right? Reflect. Um, and yeah, I honor that emotion too, right? Because like people don't appreciate feeling bad. They don't like to feel bad. So we always try to escape the bad feeling and just avoid it, shove it in a corner like it's going to go away. It doesn't, you know. Those emotions are there for a reason. They're important too. So you can kind of give it its space and then move away from it.
That's amazing advice. I think with the way that the world has been since like just as a collective since March of 2020, it just seems like everything is happening all at once. And it's hard. Like, I suffer from anxiety, and I think 2020 exasperated it, like just made it so much more intense. And now I think in the last couple of months it's just been like, all right, maybe we don't need to rush around and do stuff, and like the therapy has helped, and reflection and like just meditation has really helped as well.
Oh,
um
yeah.
what you're also working with the substance abuse people and people that suffer from addiction. And you were saying, we all want to feel good, and so we go to something that to make you feel good. um how do we avoid going to do something that makes us feel good that is inherently bad?
Hmm. I think it's important, that you even recognize that it's bad, right? Because some people, when they start, this is like, oh, this works for me. This is a coping skill. I can totally handle this. And then it doesn't, until it spirals out of control, they don't recognize that this is really dangerous for them, and damaging, right? Because recently I had a conversation with someone, and it was a really, I think, important for me to recognize that this is the relationship too. You think you have a friendship with that drug or with that behavior. And what you don't realize at first is that your friend is lying to you. They're not good for you. They don't want good for you. And I think you said we all want to feel good, and that's part of it. But I think truly what therapy is because we all want to feel loved. There's a security that's there. So when you build a friendship with this either thing or behavior, substance that's no good for you, you're not recognizing that you really need a true friend, right? So therapy can be that. Other people around you, like even in recovery, can be that. But you have to be able to kind of parse out what's real and what's not, because drugs are very good at lying.
Yes, I would agree with that. It's this is such a enlightening conversation because we've been talking to lots of people about like how they've been feeling, and they're like, I just, we talked to Blake from Saul, and he was just, he and I are similar in that we're just wrecked with grief. It's a hell of a thing. And then we've talked to like the guys from Atreyu, and they've been talking about how they overthink things, get so up in their head, or suffer from severe cynicism. How do you I would say until 2016 I thought I was fine. I think I was just a normal dude. This is, I'm just a guy, so that's exactly how I'm supposed to feel. um what would you say to someone that's like, I don't, I don't need it, I'm fine, but you can see that they're suffering from something? What is something that I could like self-reflect and maybe be like, aha, maybe that is not what I'm supposed to be thinking, or that's
Mhm.
like, not that you're not supposed to be thinking, but you know what I mean? Like, I need to do this better.
I think you were perfectly fine, perfectly normal, perfectly good without therapy till you weren't. And that's our human experience. I always tell people that are in therapy, they're like, I don't want to go to therapy. People will think I'm crazy. And I'm
Right.
like, have you seen the world we live in? This it's crazy out there. No wonder you need help processing all of this. If you look outside.
Right.
So I really think it's just normalizing the fact that like humans aren't supposed to be a one person army and just know how to handle everything and be totally okay to deal with that. Um, Sometimes you're going to need help, and sometimes it's not really help. It's in the sense that you can't do it on your own. It's just a good listening ear. That's not me. You know, some people look at therapy like they would look at a chiropractor. You know, every once in a while I get really stiff and I go into my chiropractor and I feel all limber and loose again. And I'm great till the next maybe 4 weeks. And it's just something that as ebbs and flows happen, I get to have this healthy checkpoint. They think of therapy as a healthy checkpoint. And then other people are really going through it, and they need the support of someone who is outside of themselves. Um, so I would just normalize the fact that like you're okay until you tell yourself that you're not. Once you get there, seek out help, and that could be a friend, that could be a therapist. Um, the one thing I love about I kind of think of therapy as like the best one-sided relationship, because if I am there for my clients, it's just me trying to ask them questions that they answer themselves. And if I share with them something that's important to me, and it's only really because it's relatable or somehow might benefit them, um I'm not looking for them to benefit me. That's not what I'm here for. And sometimes people need a space where they can just truly authentically focus on themselves. So if your friend's like, oh, I'm cool, and you're like, are you though? Right? Maybe that's the only question you need. Are you though?
Mhm.
Like I'm asking honestly. Like I don't need to hear about the weather. I don't need to hear the F word, right? I'm fine.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, I'm fine. Yeah. Okay. Mm.
um do you know of a way that we like place that someone could go, like a an online service, or a way that we can, we can boost the signal for it so that people can go and reach out and be like, I want to start seeing a therapist, but I don't know where to start. Do you have a place that we could go and check out?
Psychologytoday.com. If you're looking for a therapist, you don't really want to call around because you're right, it's anxiety provoking, especially going in the first time or even just getting information. Places have wait lists and different things. Psychology Today is kind of like LinkedIn for therapists, but they have bios and they have pictures and they tell you what insurance they take. And so a lot of those kind of anxiety provoking first questions can be answered by looking at a therapist's profile, right? And they'll list an email as well. So you can kind of reach out in a direct way, but not feel like you have to be like on the phone going, I don't know what to say.
Right.
Right. Um, so that I found is helpful. I used to run an ad on Psych Today. Um, maybe now that Loudwire picked me up, they'll, have me as some kind of featured thing on Psychology Today. I don't know.
Sure.
Used to run a profile there. So, but I find that that's helpful too. So that way the person who's seeking information about getting into therapy can kind of have a little bit of a heads up on who they're calling.
I think that that's a great way of like shopping around for a therapist. The first time that I went out and got therapy, they didn't have pictures. They just had like this person's name and then they're like all of their degrees and specialties. And I was like, I don't need like uh I don't have something that's like this long, like of just gibberish, I had no idea. And then we do Teledoc is something that we use with our insurance, and it was like swiping left and right basically, and it was so like easy. So yeah, it is. So Psychology Today, go and check that out, and then whatever your insurance does, like, because it is daunting looking at therapists and be like, I don't know what any of this is. So
Yeah, the other thing I'll tell people sometimes too is especially if they have like an HMO insurance, something that's a smaller network, they're not sure, if that person's going to take their insurance. Call your insurance first, and you can either get a list on their website, the insurance's website, or sometimes they'll just like email you a list if you call your insurance provider, the name number on the back of the card, and tell them I want a psychotherapist in my area. And then you can sort of cross-reference that by looking online and see, like just go through the names and put in the names in Google and see who comes up. If you don't want to look into therapists that don't have a profile out there because you're not sure who you're calling, skip that name, go to the next one.
that's awesome. Eva, thank you so much for your time today to talk about this stuff. It's so like enlightening. It's refreshing to talk to people about this, and like you said, not just about the weather. How are things going? Fine. Like it's good to dig deep and to get a perspective from the other side.
Oh, I'm so grateful. Thank you guys for having this on your show. Talking about it is the way that we need to be more active about talking about it, right? Talking about real things. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for having me. It's been great.